native flute. Good morning, everybody. What instrument don't you play? Hey, good morning, DD Josh. You're on the way to Florida, Hank? Professor Hontus. Oh, man. I tell you what, this is the way to relax, though. You're gonna be on a TV show with Rob Ferretti and Matt Far. Well, okay. By the way, when I first read that, I read it as Guy Fieri. I was like, you're gonna be on diners, drive-ins, and dives. The sorted, called sorted. The benchmark car. All the cars are compared to. Is a brand new ZR1 Corvette. Oh wow! So they're gonna compare your car. If you want to get into this thing, it's wait, I gotta get this in the camera. Look, there's a sparrow on the top. Be the leaf, says Alex. You remind me of Uncle Iro? Who's that? I love this thing. I got it this summer. It's called the Sparrowhawk from High Spirits Flutes. I'd be impressed if you made that yourself. This stream is sponsored by High Spirits Flutes. Have you watched Avatar: The Last Airbender? No, I haven't seen that one. Not the live action one, right? Because I heard that one is terrible compared to the animated show. Oh wait, we gotta change this title. You know, I enjoy animated shows though. I think I told you I love Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, DD Josh, do you also play the Chinese bamboo flute? No, but wait, somebody mentioned something earlier, like the vertical flute. We call it chow. I don't know if I said that right, but I would be interested in that. And they make these flutes in all different sizes that are like this is like a mid-size. I want to get like a more bassy flute. I haven't watched too many animes, but like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood I loved. That's probably my favorite. What else did I watch? Oh, come on. Okay, I've seen like Cowboy Bebop. Loved that. My Hero Academia. Oh yeah, maybe Samurai Champloo, hands down. Isn't that made by the same people who did Cowboy Bebop? Okay, maybe I need to watch that too. Oh, I did see some of Attack on Titan. I didn't finish that. I think there's like 2 seasons of that. Oh, you know what I did see? I watched One Punch Man and I loved it. Oh my goodness. I loved One Punch Man. It was like, it's like laugh out loud funny because it's a parody of all these different animes and it's just really funny. All right, let's get we're getting a little slower start today, but hey, it's Monday. What are you gonna do? Attack on Titan is fire. Yeah, I need to get back into it. I didn't get far enough in for it to really take off. Is Ricardo here? I said I'd have the graduate project ready. It's so close. So before the day is out, I'm gonna post that for those of you graduate students. It's basically a research project, and there's a couple gates to it. So I'll get that posted today. This Friday, we're gonna have a special guest. That's the plan. We're going to have John Robinson, who's a motorcycle tire engineer or designer. He designs motorcycle tires for racing, and he's with Dunlop Tires, or maybe it's Sumitomo Rubber now. But so we're not going to be here on Twitch on Friday because this is like a private interview we're going to get, okay? And we're going to do this on Zoom. So I'll send you the info out on that, but look forward to that this Friday. John Robinson, guest speaker. All right, today, yeah, it's gonna be pretty sick. He's really cool. So if you're interested in what a job looks like in the automotive industry in some way, oh, he can tell you all about it. He's spoken to the class before. He's really great. So if you want like career advice or just you're curious about what's it like working with racing teams to design tires and whatever, my friend works with him, just went to have, oh, sweet. Well, I know there's a student who took this class last fall. He got a job at Sumitomo. So it's not unheard of for people coming out of the UB program to get into this stuff. Ooh, yeah, Hank, take some vids. All right, everybody, let's talk lateral tire forces. But first, I want to review longitudinal tire forces. Isn't John Robinson also a serial killer from the 2000s? Different John Robinson, or maybe it's the same. He turned his life around. It's all good. We don't talk about that. Okay, the mechanism by which tires produce longitudinal force. I'm talking about going down a straight. is the following. The tires stick to the road in a region called the... You guys know this. The contact patch. And that's going to be really important. Gary, you work there right now? Oh, wow. You were just there 15 minutes? Okay. Gary works at Sumitomo. I didn't know that. That's cool. Okay, so torque is delivered from the engine and it travels through the drivetrain all the way to the axle. Let's say this is a rear-wheel drive car. So once this torque gets to the axle, this is going to produce some static frictional interactions between the tire and the road. Because you know, like, the axle's rotating the tire, and now the tire fiber in contact with the road, there's going to be friction there at the contact patch. So the tire produces a force on the road, and the road produces an equal and opposite reaction force on the tire. And this is a cool figure I want to show you. So you can see this is like a crosswalk, and it's got some paint on there, and you see it's all deformed here. And this is an example of how the force from a tire on the road produces stress, and it deforms the road surface. So I have a question for you, everybody. Which direction, right or left, are cars traveling on this road to deform the road in this way over time? Are they heading to the right, or are they heading to the left? You're guessing right. Come on, Henry, you got this one. Wait, I think Henry's driving to Florida. Don't drive him off the road. Cars only go right. Ben, they can go, you know, they can go different ways. Let me put on my Sherlock Holmes cap. Yeah, great show, by the way. Well, and films and books. Okay, you people who said cars are going this way, you're correct. Because think about this. The road pushes on the car via frictional force, but the tire pushes on the road in return. So, you know, where you see these patterns like this is where tires are going through all the time, and they're pushing on the road this way. And the road is in turn pushing on the tire this way and advancing it forward. But just like the tire rubber deforms and then, you know, corrects itself like a spring, the road deforms as well over time. So I thought this was pretty cool. It's just a demonstration of that equal and opposite force. So, okay. So we're talking about longitudinal force. The combination of the torque at the axle and the reactionary torque from the road surface, that's going to deform the tire rubber in an elastic way. It's not permanent. And so it wants to go back to its original shape. We quantify this deformation using what? The chat. I'm asking you. How do we quantify this, like, brush-like deformation in a tire for longitudinal force? Boom. Chin's got it. Ricardo's got it. It's a little bit of an indirect way of measuring the deformation because it's like a ratio of angular velocities. But because the actual angular velocity of the wheel doesn't match what we call the free rolling angular velocity, that means that there's like some deformation in the tire there. So that's one way to quantify it. So the elastic force from the tire to the axle pulls the car forward. This slip ratio variable is kappa, by the way. And I don't know if you remember from last time, but force increases as this deformation increases. So as kappa goes up, the longitudinal force the tire produces goes up. Okay, very good. Once the slip ratio is around 0.2, the force is maximized. But if the slip ratio becomes larger than 0.2, what this means is that the tire is starting to slip relative to the road. So if you've put in a little too much gas at a stoplight, you hear your tire spin out a little bit. When this happens, the tire is actually deforming less because it's not sticking to the road anymore. Like, the fact that it sticks to the road allows the torque from the engine to like press the tire into that road, and it deforms it. And that deformation produces force on the car. But when it's sliding, then it's not able to deform, and it produces less elastic force. So when you spin tires out, when you're trying to race, you're getting less force. So that's kind of the story of longitudinal force. I just wanted to run back through. Lateral force, this is like the side force. It's kind of produced in a similar way, okay? So lateral tire forces produce the centripetal acceleration that allows a vehicle to corner. So when you're cornering, you're turning left, you're turning right, your tires are holding you in that corner. If it's an icy road, maybe you skid out a little bit, and you've noticed, like, when your tires lose traction, you can no longer stay in the corner. Now, okay, this mechanism of lateral force production is similar to the process for longitudinal force production, in that it's the elastic deformation of the tire relative to the contact patch that produces force on the car. So when you're turning the steering wheel, you know, as you're turning the steering wheel, your tire is stuck to the road at the contact patch. And you actually deform the tire relative to that contact patch, and it stretches it like a spring. And that's what's going to produce force. Now, I want to show you some videos right here. Here we have a camera underneath the car, and these cars are cornering and whatnot. And so you get to see how the tire deforms relative to the contact patch. Let's see if I can pull this up. Okay, we got an ad. Of course.
When dry eye symptoms hit,
We got another ad, everybody.
Sustain complete with nano droplet technology for better coverage.
Oh wait, I can skip it. Okay. So this is the right front tire, and what I want you to do, watch in here. And look at how the tire's deforming relative to that wheel right there. You got the contact patch down here. And try to look at which direction the car is cornering, and look at the deformation pattern as well. So we're cornering to the left, and look. It looks like the tire bubbles out to the left when we corner left. Boom. Because it's on the left side of the tire, it's easier for us to see this deformation while it corners left. Your tire's always deforming. That's producing the force. Okay, let's watch another one. Let's watch another one. It may also be happening because of the normal reaction force from the road on the tire. Well, yeah, that'll like deform it, like vertically, right? We know when we put weight on a tire, it squishes the tire down a little bit. That's why the contact patch sort of flattens out. Okay, we got another one. This one we can't really see the road so much, so it's harder to... Let's try to forward somewhere in the video where this gets a little more extreme. Oh yeah, look at that deformation. It's gonna do it again. It looks like it's cornering to the right. Ooh! Okay. So I think you get the idea. I think you get the idea. Trying to close this thing. Okay. All right, so let's break this down a little bit. If only I knew we were doing lateral tire stuff today, I could have tried to get some vids of my tires from last weekend autocross. Ooh! Get some of those videos. All right, so now we're going to look at this in more detail. We're going to look at a view of a tire from underneath the road surface, if you can believe that. So we're going to notice as the tire turns, the material in the contact patch remains fixed to the road. And from the perspective of the tire, the material in the contact patch deforms in the direction of the frictional force. So let's break this down. Okay, so this isn't a real tire. This is some study that they did in the 70s. And they had this, so we're looking at a tire from underneath. And the tire, so it must have like a plexiglass thing that the camera's down here. And the tire is rolling here to the left. We got this direction of travel. And this kind of light region, this is the contact patch. This is where this like soft tire for this experiment is pressed into the plexiglass. And then what we do is we turn the tire to the right. Or wait, if I'm looking from underneath, that's a left. Doesn't matter. We turn the tire. The deformation occurs towards the direction of the frictional force. Yes. Well, yes. Well, let's break it down. So what I'm going to define here is the longitudinal wheel plane. So this'll help you see. So if I take the center line of the tire at one end of the tire and connect it to the other end, this creates what we call the longitudinal tire plane. So we turned the tire plane when we steer that wheel. Look at this though. Remember, the direction of travel is always just straight this way. So maybe I'll draw this again. So this is the velocity vector of the tire. It's still heading that way, just straight to the left. And this fiber in the contact patch it hasn't changed since turning the tire. So let's say that material in contact patch is aligned with the direction of travel. And it's still stuck to the road. I'm going to try to break it down a little bit more over here. So I think it'll be easier to see. So I have the longitudinal wheel plane. And then in the contact patch, like relative to this wheel plane, this is the deformation that I'm talking about. It's like from the perspective of the tire, like looking down at the contact patch, it's going to be like, hey, my center line in the contact patch is deflected. And that's what kind of, like in those videos we saw, you saw like this kind of bubble on the side of the tire. And this is, the tire is deforming and it's bubbling out in the direction that you're cornering. Let's draw this velocity vector again. So when you're cornering, there's always going to be some misalignment between where the tire is pointed, so like the longitudinal tire plane, that green line, and the actual direction that it's heading. There's some misalignment here. And we're going to measure this misalignment with an angle alpha. And this is probably like the most important angle in road vehicle dynamics. Alpha is called the slip angle. Okay, and so it's some, just like we use the slip ratio as a way to measure longitudinal deflection of a tire, we're going to use this slip angle as some measure of the lateral deflection, okay? So, once again, so it's like in the contact patch, we have this deformation that's bubbling like in the direction of cornering. And so the friction force is acting this way on the tire. It's like in that direction where the tire is deforming. And that ultimately means that the lateral force on the car is also acting that way, and it's going to have it corner in that direction. So maybe we'll just do that. Lateral force, like the side force on the car, is in this direction. So we're cornering that way. This is one of those things you have to do some thought experiments with. It takes some time to wrestle with, to figure out like what the heck is going on with the tires. But I think that the way that we did it, like watching some videos of the tire from underneath and seeing which way is the car going, I think that helps reinforce this. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. So in the contact patch, let's talk about what's going on in there. The tire treads for one, they're stuck to the road. There's like this static friction there. And these tire treads, they're also aligned with the direction of travel. So in other words, they're aligned with the velocity vector of the tire. Oh, I don't know what I did with this tire here. Okay. So as you steer the tire, the wheel plane is deforming relative to this contact patch. So here we got the contact patch. It's all aligned with the direction of travel. And then I rotate the tire, and that deforms the tire relative to that contact patch. That contact patch remains stuck to the road. So the wheel plane deforms relative to the contact patch, and this deformation is quantified with the, not the slip ratio, but the slip angle, and we call it alpha. And this is the angle from the wheel plane to the velocity vector. And if you want to know, like, okay, is this a positive or a negative slip angle? It is defined positive counterclockwise about the z-axis of the tire. And below we're going to get into what is the z-axis. But according to SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers convention, a z-axis for a tire is pointing down into the ground. Okay, so you're stretching this tire laterally, and the tire, because it's like a spring, it wants to regain its original shape. So in my mind, this is the way I think of it. The tire pulls the car toward the contact patch. Like in those videos, it looked like the contact patch was bubbling towards the direction that you're cornering. Well, really, the contact patch is, stuck to the road, and it's the car that is kind of veering away from the contact patch. But because the tire's like a spring, it's pulling the car back towards the contact patch and holding it into the corner. Because what the car wants to do, it doesn't want to stay in the corner. It just wants to fly away into the trees. It's your tire stuck to the road that's pulling the car into the corner. So the contact patch is pulling the tire in the direction of the tire deformation. And that's in the same direction as the friction force from the road. So that's why it's so dangerous driving on ice, because the road is less capable of producing a friction force on your tire to hold it and allow the tire to pull the car into the corner. So drive safe, everybody, as we're going into the fall here. Oh, I don't even want to think about winter. Don't get me started on that. All right, let's talk about the SAE tire coordinate system. Okay, so speed up around turns. No, MJ, that's not what I said. Okay, so let's define this SAE tire coordinate system. So, okay, first of all, the origin is at the driving in winter makes me cry. Yeah, I know. It makes a lot of us cry. The origin of the coordinate system is at the very bottom of the tire, at the contact patch. It's not at the center of the tire, like up here at the wheel hub or something. It's at the contact patch. And the Z direction is defined positive, down. So the origin of the coordinate system is at the center of the tire contact patch. Well, to get more detailed, it's at the center of the tire contact patch when the car is stationary. Because as the car corners, the contact patch deforms. And so the origin is not going to change as this contact patch deforms. It's going to, we're always going to imagine it's at the center of the contact patch when the car was just sitting still on the pavement. All right. So that's the X direction. I mean the Z, sorry. The X direction is next. All right, this is kind of hard to draw because it's like this isometric drawing. But the X direction is pointing forward. So this tire is like rolling towards us out of the page. And the X direction is pointing out of the page right along the wheel plane. And you'll get to see that better in the top view. And then here we got our third axis here, the Y direction. And this is interesting. It's defined as always pointing to the driver's right-hand side. Gary says, of course, it would be cool to drift. Okay. Of course, Gary's bringing up drift. Okay, so it would be cool to look at the drift car alignments because they are aligned to have the largest contact patch at full steering lock. Yeah, that'll be interesting because I want to talk about side slip, and winter is great because easy four-wheel drive drifting. You guys and your drifting, it is fun. Okay, so the Y direction is pointing to the driver's right. So you're sitting in the driver's seat. Point your right hand out the window. That's the Y-axis for a tire as well. So let's look at this from the top view. The origin is right at the center of the tire contact patch when the car is stationary. X is pointing forward along the wheel plane. Oh, front wheel drive. My bad. You're right. Okay, and then if this is going forward, then that means the driver's right-hand side is going out that way. If we're looking at the tire from the top. And then the Z is going down. So we're going to do this vector going straight down. It would be hard to point your right hand out the window. Just do it. What's stopping you? What's stopping you? Just do it. Okay, and then this is our longitudinal wheel plane. Let's just draw that. The window is on the left. Okay, good point. Use like a golf club or something as an extension of your right arm. Be careful of the passenger. Longitudinal wheel plane. Okay, you're right. You have this freakishly long arm that just extends out. That's funny. Okay, so this is the SAE tire convention. This is just the introduction. We're going to keep working with this, and you'll get used to it. It'll become natural to you. All right, we're going to talk about something cool. The pneumatic trail and the self-aligning moment. So let's look at this top view of a tire. Let's break this down. So here I have the velocity vector of the tire in purple. And notice it's not aligned with the longitudinal wheel plane. So the wheel plane is aligned with X. Is this the top view? Yes, it is. Yeah, we're looking at this from the top, Benny. All right. Now here in blue, this is the contact patch. So I'm kind of looking at this down from the top, and you're seeing from your top view, like the bottom of the tire is bubbling out this direction. So which way is this tire cornering? Is this the top? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just reread your comment. So this is the front of the contact patch. Back here, rear of contact patch. This is turning right. Wait. Yeah, I think we're turning left. We're turning left. Cuz even though the velocity vector is to the right of the wheel plane, like I see why this might be confusing. The velocity vector is to the right of the wheel plane right now, but I'm turning the tire to the left. And remember, the contact patch is stuck to the road, and so I've turned the wheel plane like this way to deform it relative to that contact patch. It's trippy to think about, but always start from the contact patch. It is stuck to the road, and when we turn the steering wheel, we deform the tire relative to that contact patch. And so in the contact patch, like the center line is deformed according to this kind of pattern. Do we need to consider the positive or negative of the slip corner so that we can determine the direction? Eventually, like mathematically, that's gonna matter. Pavlo says the tire wants to stay where it was, but the weight of the car is pushing the tire out. Yeah, it's like, or I wouldn't say the weight. It's like, I see what you're saying. It's the inertia of the car that's still like carrying in this direction. Like you are turning your tire, but it's like it's still moving like in this direction relative to the contact patch. Yeah, bubble is always the same direction you're turning. That's right. If you turn, Benny says, if you turn left, the car makes you feel like you're going right, like it pulls you to the right. That's how I'm thinking of that velocity vector acting. The bullets won't go left. The CL will skew right. Bulge. The bullets won't go. Okay. So, all right, let's because Chin brought up the slip angle here. Let us make the slip angle. So this is important to, we know that the Z vector of the tire axis goes down into the ground. So we're looking at this from the top. So Z is going down. Now, the slip angle is measured from the wheel plane to the velocity vector, and it's considered positive. So that's the slip angle. It's considered positive counterclockwise about the z-axis. So the z-axis is going down. Is this a positive or negative slip angle? I'm confusing myself right now. Because this is going from, because we're looking at it from the top, and this is clockwise right now. Can you use the right-hand rule? Yes, you can use the right-hand rule, But Z is going down right now. Like when we do the right hand rule, usually the vector's pointing out of the page into your face. So looking at this right here, this is actually a positive slip angle. That would be considered a positive slip angle. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit because there's something cool here. If you look at this picture, is Z going into the page? Yeah. Yeah, Finbar, you're right. Z is going down into the page right here. I bet all of you are doing that right hand rule thing with your hand. Positive thumb points down, curl, your fingers in direction of slip angle. Yeah, it's positive. It's positive. Thumb points down, you curl your fingers in the direction. Yeah, Kraz, he's doing the right hand rule thing and he figured it out. Okay. The majority of the lateral tread deflection in the contact patch. So I'm talking about this deformation in blue here. It occurs behind the center of the tire. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the origin of the coordinate system here, where the Z basis vector is, that's at the very center of the tire. But look at all this deformation, and you'll see this in real life. Most of that, I'm heading, in this direction. That deformation occurs behind the center of the tire. And once again, this elastic deformation is ultimately responsible for the production of lateral force. Like the friction force from the road combined. Is alpha clockwise or counterclockwise about the z-axis here? This is counterclockwise about the positive z-axis. Is the angle positive? Yeah, the angle's positive. Yeah, because if you point your thumb down into the page and you curl your fingers counterclockwise, it's positive. Okay, so this deformation produces lateral force. So the resultant lateral force from this deformation does not act at the center of the tire because most of the deformation is behind. So let's try to draw a representative lateral force here. So we know the friction force is acting in the direction of this deformation here. You're going to be cornering in the direction of this like bubble that's on the bottom of the tire. So the lateral force is going like this way. I'll call this F, we'll call this Fy. And I'm drawing it behind the center of the tire because the deformation is mostly behind the center of the tire. So here we have an offset, and I'm going to draw this on here. So in green here, I have this distance between the center of the tire and where the resultant lateral force is, and we're going to call that distance E. And this is called the pneumatic trail. It has a really fancy name for a lever arm. It's really privileged in that way. It's called the pneumatic trail, that distance. Okay, so this offset is measured by E, the pneumatic trail. And we know that when a force is offset from some point by a distance, it produces a moment. So anytime you have lateral force on a tire when you're cornering, because of the way the tire deforms, you're also producing a moment on the tire. You're producing a torque. Now, this off-center force produces a moment or a torque about the tire center, and this is called the self-aligning moment. And this is the last thing we'll talk about today because we're running out of time. But this is something you might have experienced as you drive. Let's call this self-aligning moment MZ because it's a moment about the Z-axis. Sorry, can you show again what E is representing? Sure. So what E is, we have the center of the tire here, like at that Z vector pointing down. So that's the tire center. And then we have the resultant lateral force back here, Fy. So it's pointing off to the side. It's in the direction of this like bubble of deformation. So the pneumatic trail E is this offset, that perpendicular distance between that lateral force vector and the center of the tire. That's the pneumatic trail. And then the moment, mz, that's going to be this lateral force times the moment arm, because that's the definition of a moment. The force with over the perpendicular distance from wherever you're taking the moment. Okay, think about what this moment tends to do. Looking at this picture. All right, this is the last thing we're doing. We're thinking about what this moment actually does to a tire. You might have experienced this while you drive. Okay, so this... Okay, this is a little hard to think about, but we said, looking at this picture, we have this contact patch. It's bubbling to the left. We're looking at this from the top, okay? So this situation is, think of this maybe as your front right tire or something. I'm steering to the left, and the tire's deforming to the left, and this moment acting over that distance, what that wants to do, it actually wants to turn the tire back to the right. Because think about this moment, it kind of wants to act that way, right? This is why we call it the self-aligning moment. Because anytime you steer to the left or something, the self-aligning moment is actually fighting you to push the tire back to the right. Or if you turn to the right, the deformation would be on the other side, but it'd still be behind center. So if you're turning right, this would want to turn your tire back to the left. You can do a little experiment. Do it in a safe place, but let's see if I put it down here. Okay, so we call it the self-aligning moment because this moment always tends to realign the longitudinal tire plane with the tire velocity vector. Okay, so here's the experiment. You might want to try this, but don't get into an accident. Okay, so let's say, okay, here's the experiment. You're driving straight, and then you briefly perturb, that's what this word is, the steering wheel. So what I mean is maybe you just, gently nudge it to the right a little bit, or maybe gently nudge it to the left. Think about what happens when you do that. Like you tap the steering wheel to one side or the other and you gently steer. Do the tires just continue to keep turning in the direction of that little perturbation and kind of push you off the road? or do they straighten themselves out? You probably know what happens, but I'm not going to give it away. But whatever does happen, it's accomplished by this self-aligning moment. You turn the tire, that's going to deform the tire a little bit. Most of that deformation is behind the tire center. That produces a moment which tends to realign the tire. It's kind of like a coincidental safety thing that's like built into the physics of tires that I don't know if it was intentional or not. Probably. Well, I mean, it just is what it is. All right, we're running a little bit over. So next time we're going to get into probably the most important thing when you're talking about the cornering performance of a tire. It's going to be the cornering stiffness and the friction coefficient. And we're going to get to that on Wednesday. Results may vary if your alignment is off or if tires have worn unevenly. Yeah, that makes sense. So we'll talk more about that on Wednesday, but remember, the plan is Friday, I'm going to send you guys a Zoom link. We're going to have John Robinson, a motorcycle tire design engineer. He knows tires way better than I do, and he's going to talk to us. So you can think about any questions you've ever had about tires, and he's going to know, most likely. Is note set number 9 going to be uploaded? Yes, it certainly will. Do you mind going back to one of the videos showing the bubble of the tire? Yeah, let's do that. Let's find, I liked the first one best. Okay, where's this thing? Yeah, let's watch this one. But we're gonna have to watch an ad, okay? I hope that's all right with you.
Ta-da!
Are you kidding me?
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need.
I know, I love ads too. LOL is Baxter in that last ad. Making me want to go on a spirited drive. Yeah, let's all get out and just... Okay, look at that deformation. Let's all just get out on the open road and just shred through this Monday morning. Let's just shred through it. So yeah, remember the contact patch is stuck to the road and the tire is like pulling you in that direction. For some reason you were looking at it the opposite way. Sure, it's it's a tricky one. It took me a lot of time to feel like I have a decent grasp on what's going on. You can always improve your understanding. I don't have it perfect. Hey, have a great day, Benny. Everybody have a fantastic day. Enjoy your day. Embrace the changing of seasons. It's difficult sometimes. Hey, Plammer, have a great day. MJ, have a good rest of your day, my friend. Big football game tonight? Who? Hey, see you, Jenna. See you Wednesday. Thanks as always. Hey, Chimney Stacks. Have an amazing day. Have a great day, my friend. Wait, what's the big football game tonight? Ravens versus Chiefs. Oh, yeah, it looks like they're both 2-0. Did you see my last homework? Phil, I haven't looked at it. How'd it go? Patty Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Ooh, a face-off. What's this song? I've been trying to Shazam it. Let me show you. This is Can't Explain by Click Track Heart. Foreign Wanderer. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fell asleep today. Hey, no worries. You got the video to go back to. You're welcome. Hey, you're welcome, Foreign Wanderer. Have a great day. Yeah, you have a good one too. The Bills are 3-0. That's pretty nice. I'm not like a huge football fan, but I do think it's cool that we're doing well. Phil says, I imported my Excel stuff and made a workspace. Hey, good for you. Yeah, you just got to keep plugging away at MATLAB. It gets easier and easier. It's very challenging at first, obviously. It's that way for everybody. You just got to force yourself. All right, everybody. I got to run to a meeting, but I really hope you have a great day. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're being kind to yourself. Phil, you said you got all the graphs. Good for you. There we go. You pushed through it. Okay. Adios, my friends.